We want to know if this data shows significant correlation between the x variable and the y variable. And there's a lot of data here, so the easiest way to do this would be to use Excel. So to use Excel with this data, we'll just highlight the data, right-click, copy, open Excel, click in this first box, right-click, paste. So we have all our data here. So to decide if there's a significant correlation, we can find the correlation coefficient and we can graph a scatter plot of the data. So to find the correlation coefficient, we type in equals CORR, correl, open a parentheses, first array is the data in this first column here for x, so we can highlight that, comma. For the second array, we'll highlight the data in the column for y, so it's the data from box B2 to box B17. Close parentheses, hit enter. Our correlation coefficient is negative 0.701. So now we'll also graph the data by highlighting, go to Insert, choose, go to Recommended Charts, choose this, insert a scatter XY plot, scatter plot, move it over here. Don't need this title, so we'll delete it. We get a scatter plot of our data, and we can change the look of the chart if we want. There's lots of different options. It's kind of neat. If we want to add a trend line, then we just click over here on Add an Element to the chart. And there's lots of different options here as well. We could add labels for the data if we want. But if we want to do trend line, it's down here. If we want to do a linear trend line, we can see that yeah, the data does appear to stick pretty close to this trend line, and it's sloping down, which is what we would expect since we have a negative correlation coefficient. And a perfectly negative correlation coefficient would be -1. So negative 0.701 is pretty close, -1. And all the points are pretty close to this trend line on our graph. So we would say that yes, this data is showing a significant correlation. Go back. Yes, significant correlation, and that's the correct answer. Let's look at another example where the data may not be a significant correlation. So let's look and see. So we right-click, copy, highlight, copy this data, open a new sheet in Excel, paste the data in this new sheet, find the correlation coefficient equals correl. First array is the data in the X column. Second array is the data in the Y column. Close parentheses, hit enter. Here's our correlation coefficient. Graph the data, inserting a scatter plot. And we'll draw a trend line, this, by adding the trend line element, linear, and see that this data is a little bit more spread out. It's not as close to the trend line as the previous example. And our correlation coefficient is much further away from -1 than the previous example. It's almost 0. So this correlation is not significant. It's not within 0.5. It's not greater than 0.5, and it's not less than -0.5. So it's not significant. Going back to our problem, no, this data is not significant, and that's the correct answer.